very, very vague instruction, which was figure out the elements of each of the vertebrae and then channel the element into the person to heal them. And that instruction is, potentially the subject of many, many years of study. You could, you spend years studying medical qigong, which, come to think of it, I did, to understand what that, what that could mean. But on the other hand, it's also like a no-brainer. It's also just, you think about the element. You think about water or fire or earth or metal or air or green growing plants, and you tune into it and you put your hand on the person. And so there's a few keys to accessing elements, whether you're a massage therapist, an acupuncturist, an energy worker, or whatever you are. One key is you want to actually ask the element politely, or respectfully. And you want to talk to the element like it's alive. Like it's living. It's not like we're not dealing with carbon and tungsten and the periodic table. Because when we say the word element, that's what it typically evokes for people. It's like, oh, now I'm going to work with, the periodic table kind of thing. And of course, the word element for these 5 forces is actually a terrible word that it doesn't reflect the original Chinese meaning at all. But in European, interpretation of what the Chinese were up to, and in the modern Chinese interpretation of what the ancient Chinese were up to, the character Xing for the 5 Xing, these 5 forces, got translated into the idea element. Xing does not mean element. Xing means a continuous circular moving force. And it's literally simply a depiction of 2 feet, one going up and one going down, forming a circle. It's like somebody's circling. So there's 5 circling forces. It's not like 5, pieces of carbon and tungsten and helium and whatever else that stuff is. It's 5 circling forces. So once you get into the Qi world and the Shen world, the 5 elements have a certain reality in that there are beings that live specifically inside the element. Well, I have to use the word element because I don't know what else to use, but inside that force, right? So, and if you think about the elements, they're actually processes, right? So metal is the process of crystallization. And wood is the process of biological organization. And earth is the process of aggregation and assimilation through breakdown, similar to the idea of probiotics or something in your intestines. The idea of that stuff can be taken in, aggregated, assimilated, kind of broken down. And water is, of course, liquefaction and the processes of things which flow. And fire is, of course, combustion. So really, we're talking about combustion, liquefaction, aggregation, and like fermentation, the biological organizing force of plants, and crystallizational processes that generate metals and crystals and rocks and so on, and bones and other things like that. So we're really looking at 5 ways that the material world gets organized. But it's not just the material world that gets organized that way. These are also energetic influences that vibrate through the Qi realm and the Shen realm, and they actually have beings that live inside them. And every ancient culture has recognized this. You have fire beings and these like little kind of beings that live inside the energies of fire. You have beings that live inside plants, that live inside the green life force of leaves of plants and so on.
Like deities?
No, they're actually not deities. They're little beings like dwarves or elves or, say that again?
Salamanders.
Salamanders in fire and In the earth, they're often like little dwarf-like looking things, little kind of goblin dwarf-looking creatures. And in plants, they're these kind of green creatures that have kind of sort of pointy hands and fingers and so on. So anyway, I've probably lost you all, some of you, and said more than I want to say on YouTube. What are you going to do about it? They're these beings that live inside the elements. And so when you're accessing an element, you're accessing a process, like crystallization or liquefaction or combustion. And you're also accessing these beings that live inside that process, the energy of that process. And so when you decide that you want to invoke and evoke an element, you want to imagine the element, feel the element, but then also request the element, the healing force of the element, to come through you, right? You know, fire is not necessarily going to be healing by itself, but within the realm of fire, there's beings that actually would be quite happy to help healing, right? There's beneficial beings that live inside each of these processes that are happy to help with healing. So you tune into the element, think about the element, picture it, imagine it, or feel it in some way, and then also request that the intelligence, the consciousness, and the consciousnesses that live within that element / process come through you for this person's healing. Right? You just ask for that. You go, oh, I want to bring the water healing forces in, and all these kind of beings that are like dolphins or like swimming creatures, or just the energy, the healing forces of water, thinking about the healing qualities of water that you want to have permeate through your patient. Does that make any sense? So it's not really rocket science. And the reality is that a child who has explained this, you know, in their, you know, 5th grade class could probably do this as well as a great Qigong master, actually. It's like, yeah, you can spend years and years and decades studying Qigong, but also you can just do it, just as a human function, a function of your imagination, a function of your humility in order to request something come through you, as a function of intentionality. That answer your question? All right, cool. So now, let's do a little meditation to work with the consciousnesses of the vertebrae of the spine and to work with the parts of the spine. So in order to do this, I want you to sit with your sit bones on the chair and your genital region off the chair, for which you need a different chair than this. Change my chair around. So you're basically going to sit on the edge of your chair, okay? And then straighten your back. Relax your back, but don't have your back leaning against the back of the chair. You're sitting right up on the edge of the chair. Ideally, the angle of your legs should be at about 90 degrees. For me, this chair is slightly low, but I'm just going to work with it anyway. And this way you can feel your spine, and your spine has room to move and to breathe. So to start with, let's just shut our eyes and sway back and forth a little bit. Now try swaying back and forth, and then also maybe you might want to sway from side to side. Play with those two ideas or rhythms. And then let's try suckling the spine. So you're just going to form a suckle, a very just subtle, fun kind of movement.